Hi, welcome to Growth Marketing Chat. Today I'm here with Josh Little. Josh is the CEO and founder of Volley. Prior to founding Volley, he also started different tech companies, but this new one is really exciting, really innovative. So I'm really happy to have him here today. Josh, thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So before we start and talk about growth, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit more about Volley and kind of how you're innovating.
Yeah, Volley, it's a new way to move work forward. It's a asynchronous video messaging app for remote teams, and it helps remote teams communicate better. So instead of faceless communication methods like Slack and email, Volley helps kind of bring the full context, clarity, and humanity of your message because it uses asynchronous video. So in Volley, you take turns just like any other conversation, except you record your turn with video. And this gives us kind of the best of both worlds, the richness of talking with the flexibility of texting. So you can think Snapchat for work, WhatsApp for work. That's the headline. But most people come to Volley because they appreciate the async video messaging back and forth. 83% of Volley sent are video messages. And so that's why people come and stay.
Nice, nice. So no more misunderstanding what you meant by these like three little dots at the end of your message, right?
Right. Yeah. So we help clarify any written communication, but what we're finding is for the right team trying to do big things, communication matters. They're picking up Volley and replacing not only Slack, but Loom, as well as some of their Zooms, because a lot of the things that you're meeting synchronously about just don't need to be synchronous, but they do need to be a few volleys back and forth with some context and some empathy and some explanation. And neither Slack or email or other, text-based methods are the right place for those things. So we're pretty excited to see that the teams are using Volley for most of their interactions.
Yeah. That's so interesting. There's so much you can convey even just with voice, right, and facial expression that
Mhm.
are totally lost in written communication.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, social scientists say that 93% of the full picture of communication is attributed to tone of voice and body language. Only 7% of the message is actually in the words that we choose to use. And that's why we have video on right now, is because this would be kind of a weird interview over email or over Slack.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
yeah.
All right, so that's a very exciting product and it's very disruptive. And so I'd like to learn more about your go-to-market strategy. And since this is not your first rodeo, how do you think startups should approach go-to-market in general?
Oh, that would assume that we have a go-to-market strategy. You think we've got it figured out? I'm not sure, but happy to talk about it. So it's different for each startup, for each company. Volley is my fourth. So each one has had kind of a different need. And it always starts with kind of a validation process and validating. And there's always a who, what pair, who is using a product for what that has to be nailed. Even a product like Volley, it's a pretty cool product. It can be used for 100 different things. So our go-to-market strategy has to be aligned behind who we're seeing the who what pair have most success, and that's for us with Volley has come down to who remote teams, what team communication and collaboration. You could use a tool like Volley for telemedicine or peer-to-peer sales interactions on Craigslist, but this is who we're finding the having the most value with Volley. So that's who we're focused on. So first you have to kind of figure out your who what pair and make sure that you have product market fit with that group. And that's another thing that I saw you had another podcast about product market fit. That's another thing that's hard to know, but I love the Mark Andreessen quote, and I'm going to butcher it. It's But it's basically, you know, when you have it. If you have to ask whether you have product market fit, if you're not sure, if you're trying to figure things out and try different things, you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in that spot multiple times where, yeah, it feels like something's working, but it's not quite working, and sales seem a little soft, and lead gen is soft, or whatever it is, and that just means we have some product market fit work to do, and we need to talk to our users.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think this is the single best piece of advice you can give any entrepreneur is to focus on this before really investing in any growth efforts, because you can't sell a product that's not ready, right? So you're going to invest a bunch of money and then not get the returns. So like really
Right, but
figuring this out first is so
it's
important.
never that clear, though. That's the problem. It's not like no one will pick up the product and use it,
Right.
because in every company you get signal. There is a handful of people that are using the thing, and it's really working for them, but it just feels like it's hard to find more, and they're not really referring to others. So those are the sorts of indicators. So it's never as black and white as like, oh, we can't get a single person to use this, because you can. It's just you're not getting the scale or the viral user-led growth that you need to build a enduring and valuable company.
All right. 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 All right. Well, this is really, really helpful. Is there other signals so you mentioned like referrals, like if people are using it and then referring other people, that's a good sign that you're like on the right trajectory. Are there other signals that you can find in your user base to show you that you're getting closer to product market fit?
Yeah, so it depends on the product, but daily active use would be another one for a product like Volley. That's all we're focused on, is just creating a daily active user and helping them create more daily active users, and making them successful. So, but that's not been the key for products I've built in the past, because they're not really a daily active use sort of product. It's more of like a weekly, monthly active use
Mm-hmm.
would be a success metric. But active repeated use, whatever the definition of retention is for your user. Like one of the things we're really excited to see with Volley is we retain 98% of people who send 100 volleys. Like if you get to your 100th volley, you're probably never deleting this app, because you're in a dozen conversations with people you're moving work forward with, and it's valuable, right? But the
Right.
challenge is getting them to that 100 volleys, getting that aha moment to happen, and then building that momentum, and help, when the ball falls in between two parties, helping pick it up and just say, hey, you want to toss it back? We could start this conversation back up again. So those are all the little things that we're working on right now, just to try to make that interaction feel magical and it never fizzle out.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So to sum up here, signals for product market fit, depending on your product, of course, but retention, usage is really important. Knowing when you nail the retention, I guess, like the fact that okay, after 100 messages, they're in. They're not gonna go anywhere, right? Like a lot of people don't know this, right? You need to find this metric, and I'm sure it took you time,
Sure.
to get there. So yeah, that's really great insight. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
You bet. You bet.
Thanks, Josh.